and welcome back to the Cool Your Jets podcast. We are your hosts, Michael Nania and Ben Blessington, and I'm sure you could already notice this podcast is a little bit different than usual, considering I am opening this thing up instead of Ben, and that is because his voice is totally gone following one of the craziest home wins by the Jets in recent memory, if not the craziest within the past few years. So his voice is completely gone, and we took to Twitter and asked some of you guys whether you thought he should come out here. There are two options that he could go with for this podcast. He could either go with an ASMR whisper, or he could go with the Batman voice. There was an overwhelming majority for one of those. You guys chose the Batman voice. So, Ben, how are you doing?
I did my part today. I can't even say anything.
I think that's the only contribution we're gonna get from him today. Seriously, I think
I'll have a few ad libs.
He'll have some ad libs. Maybe drop some Batman quotes in there.
I sound like Vin Diesel.
Some Vin Diesel, maybe some Pattinson Batman, maybe some Bale. We'll get a few different versions in here. But yeah, I think I'll mostly be carrying this one. This will probably be a shorter one. We'll definitely have some more in-depth reaction and analysis later in the week once we get to digest this, once Ben gets his voice back a little bit. But yeah, on that note regarding his voice, I mean, we were both in the house for this game, and it was as loud of a Jets game as I have ever been to. And granted, I don't go to a ton of Jets games. You know, I pop in for probably one per year on average. But out of the ones that I've been to, and even just comparing it to what I've heard on TV, it was packed in there. And even before the Jets, started playing well in this game, you could just tell that there was a very palpable energy in there, just with Zach Wilson making his home debut this season, coming off of the comeback win last week. There was a lot of energy. You got the Dolphins coming into town, division rival who's had a red hot start to the season, even without Tua out there. You could feel the energy from the start in the parking lot, throughout the building. And then once it got going, the Jets got off to a quick start. First offensive drive didn't go great, but then you come out in defense. Braden Mann has a killer punt to drop them deep in their own territory. Safety on the first play. From that point on, you could just absolutely feel the energy in the building, and it just was radiating throughout the entire game. And I think the fans definitely played a big role in this one, and it was about as full as I've seen it. I mean, I would probably say it was 97%, other than a few of the highest seats behind the end zones in the upper level. It was pretty much full, wouldn't you say, Bruce Wayne?
I would concur.
Yeah, I mean, Bruce agrees. So yeah, I mean, the energy was great, and we had a cool day as well. Pre-game, we got there pretty early, and we went over near where the Jets come into the stadium, where they come out of the players' lot. We were pumping up some of the players. Even like some of the fans there aren't, I guess, as diehard as we are, knowing some of the random players. Like, we'd pump up Grant Herman's, and he would look at us like it's probably the first time anyone ever shouted him out. Were there any other obscure guys we shouted out?
Well, the Joe Flacco, Zach Wilson test.
Oh yeah, that's definitely worth mentioning. So the very first players who walked in, at least when we got there, were Joe Flacco and Zach Wilson. So you got to like that mentality. First one in for Zach, and also Joe Flacco showing some leadership. Carpooling together. Joe Flacco was driving, Zach in the passenger seat. White Tesla. So if you see a white Tesla around Jersey, all right. Maybe I shouldn't do that. Although I'm sure there are multiple white Teslas in Jersey, but yeah, you like to see that leadership from Joe Flacco. So yeah, that was cool pregame. Ben got a selfie with Braylon Edwards, one of his favorites growing up.
Kind of burying the lead there. I got a selfie with
Namath, although he wasn't really participating in it.
He smiled.
He's kind of just in the background of it.
Hey, he's smiling.
Jordan Whitehead came by us, a few different players, but
That's cool.
It was pretty cool. So yeah, then the game starts, and we'll get into it chronologically a little bit more, but I think quickly the best way to kind of open this up would be to just actually, I guess before we get to that, we should talk about our post-game experience. Because that was pretty funny. So we went back to the same spot. after the game where the players walk into the players lot, and Quinnen walks by, and Ben put out a tweet about this, and a lot of people were doubting him. I tried to vouch for him.
The people on Twitter think I'm capping.
Yeah, so vengeance is coming. Vengeance is coming from Batman here. But yeah, so Quinnen walks out, and Ben yells at him. He's like, wait, what'd you say to him? You're like,
I was like, you own
oh yeah,
Tyreek.
you were like, you own Tyreek, and he's like, and Quinnen responds to him, and he's like, you saw that stiff arm, right?
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Yeah, so that was pretty funny. He was hyped up about it.
We got JD, Garrett Wilson.
Joe Douglas came out. We hyped him up. He gave a little nod in our direction. Then he said he listens to our podcast every single day. All right, that didn't happen. So I probably destroyed our credibility with that. But no, that did not. He did not say he listened to our podcast, but he did nod in our general direction, and we were graced by his presence. I was just on my knees, just bowing down to him. But no, Garrett.
I mean, the rookies won this game.
Yeah, so. The rookies won this game. And speaking of the rookies, Garrett Wilson came by, and he dapped us up, and it was so cool too because he kind of had to make a little extra effort, go out of his way to come over to us. But we dapped him up. I haven't washed my hands since. Just kidding. I have. I do practice good hygiene. So, I mean, we had a bunch of dumplings earlier, which we waited 30 minutes for. So of course I had to wash my hands. But
I like hosting up Michael. I like these riffs. Keep going.
But yeah, that's pretty cool. Was there any other notable interactions with players? Oh yeah, we took a selfie with CJ Mosley. That's pretty cool.
Oh, he said he'd come on the
He said he would come on the podcast, but that's TBD. His DMs are not open, so that kind of makes it a tough thing to set up.
The people on Twitter are doing their job though.
People, yeah. Thanks to everyone on Twitter who's kind of telling him that he should come on. We'll see what happens. But that was pretty cool. Zach Wilson came out. He got a big reaction. Although Ben said some things we probably don't need to mention.
No, what?
Unless you want to.
No, they weren't that bad.
Okay. I don't think we need to mention them though. But yeah, so that was pretty cool. But I guess let's get into the game and like what this win means, because it's a big one. And as big as the previous two wins were, and obviously they were huge wins, but this is the one that really kind of puts this season into the mode where it's like, okay, we're here now. It's time to compete. There were so many first time since sort of accomplishments in this game, getting above 500 in October, beating a division rival, doing it at home when it matters, because, screw the streak itself. Those last couple of division wins they got did not matter. Week 17, Buffalo 2019. Who cares about that? Dolphins game a couple weeks before that. No one cares about that. So really your last quality division win that actually mattered was probably 2017 against the Dolphins, their first win of the season. So been a long time since they really got a statement division win that kind of, puts your stamp on, okay, we're in this division. We're here to compete as well. So to be able to get that sort of monkey off their back was huge. A blowout win, and this wasn't necessarily a blowout because they didn't pull away until the end, but for them to finally step on a team's neck and just not let them hang around, to finish a game strong and put it out of reach to where and take full control of the game, which they had chances to do earlier, which they didn't take advantage of. But when it all came down to it, they did take full advantage of a banged up Dolphins team and really take care of business at home, which is what competitive teams are supposed to do. So a lot of first time sinces in this game, to where okay, the Jets are starting to look like a competent football team again. And I think you could also see a lot of just energy throughout the team responding to some of the things that Robert Saleh has been preaching, with the receipts and everything. Like, you could just see this team was very much dialed in with the receipts, from doing the Waddle celebration by Michael Carter, Sauce Gardner, the peace sign for Tyreek Hill, Quinnen stiff arming Tyreek Hill. You just got all these moments where it's like, we're putting our stamp out here. And it's not a team that's going to be, we're going to take that criticism lightly. We're going to remember it, and we're going to use that as fuel. So I think you could really see that energy from the start and throughout the game. So yeah, there were a lot of reasons that this game is a big momentum swinger going forward. It definitely puts them squarely in the middle of that playoff mix. And it's only week 5, but you look at the standings right now and you see the Jets in the 5th seed and it's something that it's really promising, and it means you're going to play meaningful football for a long time going forward. And that was the primary goal this team had. And you still want to keep your expectations tempered for now until they could really prove that they're going to be in this playoff mix. But just to see that right now and know that they got off to a good start, it's not like they had to dig themselves out of a hole. They're here to play meaningful games throughout the season is going to be huge for this team, regardless of if they actually do make the playoffs or not, just because it really helps turn the culture in the right direction, because guys get to play, these young players get to play meaningful football, play high stakes football where every single play matters, every single week matters, where you have, beef now with the division rival. Just wait for that week 18 game and how the Dolphins are going to be treating that one after everything the Jets did in this game. So just to be able to have all that very meaningful football does a lot for, I think, the development of these young players.
We'll see if I can get this out.
Okay.
But I think that okay, I'm gonna whisper this. I don't know.
Okay, we're switching to ASMR whisper mode.
Okay, Michael. Okay, that's too weird. Okay, I think a lot of Dolphins fans or people would say like, okay, but we were down to our third string QB. We're missing all these players. But how many times have we seen the Jets not win those games?
Exactly.
They did what they were supposed to do. They won by 23. I mean, and I think the thing I love was Saleh after the game being like, this shit's normal.
Yeah.
As much as I want to party, this shit's the expectation.
Yes.
I love that message.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic message, because you could say whatever you want about the injuries and everything, and granted, it does matter. The Dolphins are not as dangerous with Skylar Thompson as they are with Tua Tagovailoa, but like you mentioned, Bruce, I think that you look back to the Matt Barkley game. You look back to the Matt Barkley game against the Bills, and just various other examples of the Jets losing games that they quote unquote should win. And now this is a game that definitely turned into a game that you should win, with no Xavier Howard, no Teron Armstead, no Tua. Then one play into the game, no Teddy Bridgewater. You get to that point where it's like, there's no excuses. You got to win this game.
And we played 3 games with Flacco.
And the Jets have already gone through 3 games with Flacco. So it's not like the Jets have caught a total break.
4 tackles.
Yeah, so it's not like the Jets caught a total break. It was a little bit of a balance to the fact that, AVT's on his 3rd position. You got
generational
AVT. Your 4th or 5th offensive line combination of the season already. So it's not like the Jets have, this amazing situation here to where they're in a much better spot than the opponent. They're dealing with a lot of their own struggles and already have with 3 games of a backup. But yeah, taking care of business is, I think, an important thing for any team that wants to compete for the playoffs, wants to win a championship, because you have to win those games that you should win. And if those losses add up where you fail to capitalize on the other team not having their quarterback or whatever, then you're never going to get to the playoffs. And that's what the Jets have struggled so much with.
When was the last time the Jets won a hyped up home game?
Exactly. And even just a couple of weeks ago, they failed to do that. After beating the Steelers, they come home for the Bengals, and
Browns.
After beating the Browns, they come home for the Bengals, and come out pretty flat, and they kind of failed to capitalize on that. But this time they're able to do it after the Steelers win last week. So Zach Wilson moves to 2-0 this season, which is, a huge accomplishment for him. And I think one of the great things about Wilson right now is that, I think we've yet to see him play his absolute best this year. We've seen great moments, but both games wasn't necessarily, I think, the best start to finish consistency that he's capable of. Both games, I think he had some first half mistakes, but he finished both games very strong. And in both games, the Jets were able to win without him being his absolute best. That's not to say they won in spite of him, because he definitely played a huge role in both wins, closing them out in the second half. So he's definitely been a plus, I think, but they haven't needed him to be spectacular to win, which is what at times it has felt like has had to be the case for Jets quarterbacks, to where it's like, the Jets aren't going to win unless the quarterback is fantastic. And as much as you would like a fantastic quarterback performance every week, it's still a team game. And sometimes your quarterback's not going to be awesome, and you want to be able to pick him up and be able to keep the team in the game while he finds his footing. And that's what the Jets have done a great job of the past few weeks. So I think we've seen some really nice progress from Zach these first 2 weeks, but at the same time, I think it's awesome to see that there's a team around him that could keep the entire team in the game while regardless of how he's playing. So I think that is a great thing to see. So I think from there we can kind of get into this chronologically a little bit, and just kind of go from start to finish of how this game went. Because I think it was a really interesting game to where, like we just said with the injuries, you came out here and very quickly this turned into a game that it felt like the Jets should win. You knew coming in, Armstead is out, Howard is out, Tua's out, and then Teddy Bridgewater goes out quickly. And this very fast turns into, all right, the Jets got to take advantage of this. And it took them a little bit of time, but they did quickly get on top. You get the safety. They punt the next drive, then they get the field goal. So it's 5-0. You're in the second quarter. So slowly chipping away. But then they get the huge Breece Hall strike. And then they score a touchdown off of that. The Breece chants were in full force at MetLife Stadium. The Breece chants have been really good. They were much more prevalent in this game than the Ravens game that I went to. But I think they're definitely becoming a fixture. So, you get up 12-0, and there you feel like you're in a really good spot with how dominant the defense has been. You're talking safety, 5-play punt, 3-play punt. But then Miami comes out and they're running the ball. They're getting the ball out quickly to Tyreek Hill. And, you're starting to see some cracks in the defense a little bit. Mike McDaniel. That
wasn't me. That was your computer.
Mike McDaniel's starting to get in his element, finding ways to create misdirection, create angles in the run game. And Miami comes down and scores. So you would like to see a response from the Jets there, but they punt. Then you come back and you get the Sauce interception and you score a touchdown off of that. Ground and pound with Breece coming down the field, and you go right back up by 12. So at this point, you're in a really good spot. But where the Dolphins definitely made this, I think the big swing of this game prior to the Jets' fourth quarter sort of onslaught was that end of half drive that the Dolphins had. They really built off of the drive. They had a couple series previously prior to the interception, and just running the football, getting it out quick, Tyreek making plays. They really had found their groove those last few drives there. Then they come out and they get that touchdown to close the half. So at that point, I know I was feeling a little bit uneasy, and we know that I have, as we discussed in this podcast, I have some trouble with staying a little optimistic during the game. As optimistic as I am overall when I'm on the podcast and writing and tweeting and everything, during games I don't subscribe to the mentality of don't get too high, don't get too low. I get very high when the things are good, and I get very low when they're bad. So at this point, you go into halftime and you're up 19-14. It didn't feel like as much of a cushion as I thought the Jets should have had, considering the quarterback issues and the early momentum that they got. But you are up 5, and hopefully you can build on that second half. But third quarter, definitely the Jets still didn't really show or take advantage and kind of take control of the game. Miami comes out of the field goal drive. Jets offense, a couple of tough drives, turnover on downs with the very controversial fourth down call by Mike LaFleur which going forward I think was okay, but to throw the ball, not only throw the ball, but do it out of an empty set with no threat of the run with how well they were running the ball. Wasn't a fan of that. Turns out with an incompletion to Corey Davis. Although Tyler Conklin was open on a shorter route there, so maybe one Zach would like to have back. But either way, you turn it over on downs. Miami goes 3 and out, but
terrible play call, by the way.
Terrible play call
on the 4th and 1.
Yeah, but then you come back, you punt again. Then Miami, and this I think was the turning point of the game. Miami drives again. They have a 6-play, 43-yard drive. They get in position for a 54-yard field goal. I believe this was the start of it was in the fourth quarter when this happened. Jets at this point are leading by 2. Miami's going for the lead, 54 yards out, and it just hooks to the right. And from there, the Jets kind of finally seize the momentum and really put a stranglehold on this game. You come down, huge Zach drive. He has a clutch throw outside to Corey Davis with anticipation, and that really got them going. You drive down, you score a touchdown. Michael Carter tops it off. Then from there, it was just an avalanche of big plays. Lawson strip sack. Quinnen recovers, stiff arms Tyreek Hill. Breece Hall tops it off. Then you get the 4-play turnover on downs with Quan Alexander with the big stop. Barrios tops it off the touchdown the next drive. So the finishing in this game, the 21-0 fourth quarter, was just fantastic to watch because, look, throughout this game, like we said, the Jets didn't always take advantage of the opportunities they had to really put this thing away, but just in succession there at the end, they kind of atoned for all the opportunities they missed because it was just bang, 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 one after the next. They were seizing every single opportunity. Okay, missed field goal, let's drive down and score. Um, third string quarterback's gonna have to drop back and pass now. How about our star pass rusher comes up with a turnover, and then our star defensive tackle picks it up, and then our second round running back punches it in. Then you come out after that, another desperation drive, get the turnover on downs, capitalize again. So even though it may not have been the most complete 4 quarters that you might have wanted to see, considering, Dolphins and all their injuries, the Jets with an enormous fourth quarter were really able to make up for all that and turn this into the lopsided victory that I think you want to get at home against a team that is on its third quarterback. So ultimately, you come away out of this game, you're 3-2, you're the 5th seed in the AFC, you're second place in your division, and this is something I think every Jets fan would have signed up for at this point of the season, especially after we knew that Zach Wilson was going to miss the first 3 games of the year. So you got to love this win. And I guess we can quickly touch on some of the studs. And I was going to say studs and duds, but we could keep it positive and just look at studs. I don't know if I have anything too negative to say about this game right now. But a few guys to shout out in this game. First one I want to shout out is Carl Lawson. He set a Jets record with 7 quarterback hits in this game. He was absolutely dominant, consistent wins, big pressures to create big plays. John Franklin Myers, 5 quarterback hits. He created the Sauce Gardner interception by getting that hit and slowing down the pass to allow Sauce to undercut it. So the pass rush came up big in this game, specifically those 2 guys. Breece Hall, I mean, man, Jets should have listened to that trade chart. Could have had, who was that? Jalen Petre, who I think
he's pretty good, isn't he?
I'm not sure how good he's been, but I don't think he had 197 yards today. So I think the Jets are okay with Breece Hall. I think they're happy with that pick. Breece Hall, this was a game where you could really see him putting everything together. First few games you saw, the burst, you saw the power, the ability to finish runs, run through guys, but the vision, was it always consistent? Sometimes he could go north south a little bit more. There were some drops, but in this game, the hands were great. He was hitting the hole effectively, seeing it, getting upfield, and he's just bowling over guys. And there were points of this game where Breece Hall was just carrying the offense. And, by the end of the game, he was doing the feed me sort of gesture. So Breece Hall in this game, I think, showed you why he's a second round pick, why it was okay for the Jets to pick him, because he really has that game breaking sort of ability. And it was just impressive to watch. It was one of the most well-rounded running back performances we've seen by a Jets running back in recent memory. So also, this was the alumni game for the Jets. And this is a random tangent, but yesterday, prior to this game, we were watching some Isaiah Crowell highlights. Why? I don't know. But we were watching some Isaiah Crowell highlights.
No. We were watching the one game against the Broncos.
Yes, that's true. We were watching.
We were just watching his highlights.
Actually, we watched his butt wipe celebration against the Browns. Then we watched the Broncos highlights. So we were watching some Isaiah Crowell highlights. Why does this matter, you might ask? Well, let me tell you. This was the alumni game for the Jets. And that doesn't just mean you're Wayne Corbetts, shout out Jets X Factor, your Mark Gastineau, Joe Namath, not just your classic guys. It means Sharon Peake, it means Brandon Bostic, and it means Isaiah Crowell, the home run hitter from 2018. So I think Isaiah Crowell being in the building kind of gave Breece some of that home run juice. That was a very stupid point to make. So
the Uzama play.
Uzama play, yes, we got to bring that up as well. Quickly, also, I was joking around. Isaiah Crowell is not the reason Breece Hall was good, but I just thought.
I think they got that.
I just thought it would be funny to mention because this alumni game, there were like so many random players.
I think
I
if you
think
just play a game,
anyone who's played a game for the Jets got the invite to this.
Cool. I like
so
that.
Which is cool. Like I said,
Pack the stands.
Sharon Peak, Brandon Boss, like some of these random guys. I don't think Tremaine Johnson would have been welcomed. Maybe they didn't email him. Everyone except him. But yeah. So let's talk about the CJ Uzomah flip. IK, was he? Oh no. Why did I think that for a second? Yeah, Tremaine Johnson and IK and Impali didn't get the invite, I don't think. They were kept out of the email chain. But let's talk about the CJ Uzomah flip play. Because if you listen last week, Ben pointed out how on film you could see the Jets were kind of setting up a toss play up the middle to CJ Uzomah, kind of in that Travis Kelce sort of mold, like the Chiefs are famous for. They didn't run it, but you could see that they're motioning him, and you could see it's something they were potentially setting up to do in the future. And in this game, they did pull it out. So an amazing call by Ben here. Unfortunately, he doesn't have the voice to sort of flex on it too much, but he definitely made that call. So that just goes to show you, we watch our film here, we know how to identify tendencies, and essentially we're saying we should take Mike LaFleur's job. That's what we're saying.
Pretty much.
Yeah, we saw Mike LaFleur a couple times throughout the day when we were going in. Like, we both shouted to him. We were like, LaBouffe. He clearly heard it because he didn't have any headphones on. I don't think he acknowledged us.
Did not acknowledge.
But I think he liked it though. He liked it. That's for sure. Based on his performance today, putting up a 40 spot, he definitely was motivated.
I think he likes the idea that everybody thinks he just needs to be locked in a booth.
Yeah, I think he loves it. Oh, we also saw him and McDaniel like embrace right in front of us before the game. So that was interesting. But definitely outclassed his former Niners. I guess we'll cut McDaniel some slack. But
he was getting that run game going for a little bit for them, McDaniel.
Yeah, I would say McDaniel is probably more responsible for their offensive production than any individual player, except Hill, who had a really good game. But there was definitely
really good game. What are you talking about?
I mean,
Tyreek Hill had a really good game.
He didn't put up
46 yards.
He didn't put up numbers, but like that catch he made against Reed.
My voice even more, Michael. What the fuck?
That catch he made against Reed, the juke he had on Sauce.
That's not okay. I mean,
he had a nice game.
He had a nice game.
Okay, he had a nice,
really good game.
But McDaniel was, definitely scheming things up at point to this one. So, but either way, LaBouffe had himself a nice outing. I don't know how we got on that point. We said we should take his job. I think that's what it was.
Yeah, you said that.
I know he probably listens to this podcast. So, Mike, keep doing your thing. We don't actually think that, but you're good up in the booth. So beyond that, I mean, anything else we should touch on? Any other studs of this game?
CYJ listeners.
Oh yeah, the few CYJ listeners came.
This game, what's his name?
Yeah, it was cool to meet a few different CYJ listeners throughout the game. Mike Bloom on Twitter was sitting behind us. So it's really cool. Like, I was wearing my Cool Your Jets t-shirt, and a few different people came up to us and said they listened to the pod. So that's really awesome. We obviously appreciate everyone who listens, and just to anytime anyone reaches out and lets us know, like, they listen to it at school or on the train or during their commute or their workout or whatever. It's a really cool feeling because we just sit here and record it, and you think you're talking to a computer screen or
Batman.
Just talking to Batman, talking into a mic, but like you don't realize that there are a lot of people out there listening to it. So it's very cool to kind of get that reinforcement to like people are listening. It really motivates us to do it because I think as much as we enjoy talking about the Jets, regardless of if the mic is on or not, I think it's cool to kind of share it with other people and just create that sort of community feel. I think that's what's the most fun thing about being a fan. Like, we're in a stadium today and the Jets have got the blowout going on, and random people are walking up the stairs of your section. You're just high-fiving everybody, and it's just it creates this community vibe that you don't really.
Jets chant, you led one.
I did try to lead some Jets chants.
There's nothing sadder than when you try to lead one and nobody else joins in.
Like that's my fear with starting the Jets chants. Like, I want to do it, and when people do join in, it's pretty cool, but like if you're walking down in the sea of people trying to leave the stadium and you try to get it going and no one does it, you're like, no, that's a vibe kill. But we had some decent ones. But yeah, like it just creates this community feel. So to hear that people enjoy the podcast is it's just thrilling. It's very, very cool. So we appreciate everyone who listens, everyone who comes up to us at the games and everything. Um, if you send us emails, reply to us on Twitter, send DMs, whatever it is, all of the feedback is very much appreciated. And right now is the time of this podcast. I mean, this is a peak moment. So far. Like, just we continue to break through that ceiling every single week. The Browns game was the peak, then the Steelers game, and this is the new peak. So let's keep breaking through that ceiling and raising it to a new level each and every week. I know we don't control that, and it sounds like I'm motivating you to do something, but I guess let's hope for the ceiling to continue to be raised each and every week. But winning definitely makes this a lot more fun to talk about. I know if they lost this game, it would not be a ton of fun to sit here with limited voice trying to talk about our thoughts. So yeah,
honestly, I think this voice is an upgrade.
Yeah, I think this is an upgrade.
It's definitely much lower.
This is definitely a good shtick. We should go with this. After every single win, Batman will come on the podcast. So Bruce, how are you doing today? I've actually made that mistake a few times already. I'm spilling your secret identity. Or is this an alternate universe where it's known?
Bruce doesn't talk like this.
That's
Batman
true.
Does.
That's true. Fuck. But this could be an alternate universe where his identity is known and he just...
Hey, Gotham City football team won. I think it's appropriate.
That's true. And he just keeps the scowl full time. This could be an alternate universe. So...
Okay, wrap it up.
Okay. We're definitely overdoing at this point. So how do we close this out? I'm not used to it.
You gotta give the plug.
I gotta give the plugs.
You gotta say you follow us.
All right. You can follow us on Twitter at CYJPod.
Nice.
You could follow us on Facebook. Just kidding. We don't have Facebook.
Nice. Good joke.
Anything else we plug?
I plug your Twitter.
You can follow my Twitter at Michael_Nania. Subscribe, rate, review on iTunes and all that stuff wherever you're listening to it. What else? Do we have an email?
Okay, fuck it.
Plug the email.
All right, wrap it up.
There's something else.
I always say any last thoughts, but I think I normally just go like, we'll be back on Friday.
I feel like there's something we didn't plug.
iTunes,
YouTube. Anything else?
My Twitter. It doesn't matter.
Okay. Whatever. We're going overboard here. The Jets are 3-2.
Let's go.
They're second place in the division. They're the 5th seed in the AFC. They've got a 2-game winning streak. Zach Wilson is 2-0. The Jets just blew out a division rival at home, a division rival that was the absolute talk of the NFL 2 weeks ago. That was the number one team in the division.
I mean, kind of, not really, but
technically, but we will take it. So things are rolling right now, and it is fun to talk about the Jets. So what is the line you say? Just thanks for listening, everyone.
2020 used to say, don't let the Jets ruin your life,
but today I think a lot of people are leaning on the Jets. If you're a Mets fan, I'm a Yankees fan, so I'm still chilling right now. But if you're a Mets fan, the Jets are your fallback right now, which is usually not something that you get to enjoy. So the Jets are a nice thing right now, and we could like sort of feel the vibe just walking around in the city, in the airport. Like people are just wearing Jets gear, talking to other Jets fans. It's good vibes right now. So anyway, thanks everyone for listening, for putting up with this Batman voice, if you could even understand it.
I'm vengeance.
He is vengeance. I am Michael Nania. This is Cool Your Jets. Thank you everyone for listening. Go Jets.
Nice.